We can see the panelists here. We've got Voys, Sebastian from Voys will be starting out, and then I'll hand over to Rob from QuicklySign, which I think we've had a lot of questions on, and that I'm sure you'll enjoy that. Then we've got Chris from FICA to help you understand risk rating in your client base and how to make sure that your clients are who they say they are. We've got Gustav, who will give us a quick demo of WealthPro. Then I'm handing over to Johan, that's joining us from Berlin, to talk about Commspace and how to look at the revenue in your financial advisory business. And then lastly, we've got Adam from Asset Map, all the way from Philadelphia, and joining him is Gary from Work That Matters, who's the local affiliate for Asset Map. And with that, I think we can kick off, and I'm going to hand over to Sebastian, who's going to open up today for us. Thanks, Sebastian.
Thanks, Louis. Welcome, everyone. I see I can't yet share my screen while other participants are sharing. Thanks, Louis.
Okay.
I think it should work.
There you go.
It'll work now. Just see if we can get this working as well as we did when we tested it just now. You should be able to see it right now. Can you just confirm?
Yeah. Perfect.
All good? Yeah, okay. Well, thanks again. Welcome, everyone. It is a great pleasure to be here with you all. It's unbelievable how many attendants you are here today and how fast that went. Well done on that, Louis. My name is Sebastian. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Voys South Africa. It's going to be my goal to inspire you with some of the things that are possible with our cloud-based phone system. I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. If Louis would like to stop me and delve a little deeper on some particular topic, please do so. So I'm going to talk to you about telecommunications. Now, the word telecommunications alone evokes all kinds of emotions from different people, but generally speaking, they're not ones of fondness and excitement, at least not of the positive kind. So I'm hoping I'm going to make a change there today. Because it's been Voys' aim to change that ever since we were founded 14 years ago. We wanted to do things differently. First of all, we wanted to give customers control over their phone system, offer fair pricing, do away with contracts, and provide plain great support from actual humans and not from call center robots. Our company was founded on the values of openness, equality, and supporting. And we believe that happy colleagues makes happy customers. Just some quick context. I'm not going to dwell too long on it. Generally, it's boring stuff, but at least you know where we come from. We're founded in the Netherlands 14 years ago. We're currently active in the Netherlands, South Africa, Belgium, and Germany. 93,000 people use our services daily. And we've got 21.4 million voice minutes running past our network or through our network on a monthly basis. We've been serving South African customers from Cape Town since 2014.
Probably number two.
Number two. I do believe you are close to customer number two. You actually collected your phone from my house, so that was humble beginnings back then. So it's really cool to be here in this situation now. Quite cool. So what do? Most simple way to say what we do is we offer phone numbers, a phone system in the cloud, and phones. I mean, it's the simplest way I can put it. The system comes with all kinds of features that you expect from a traditional PBX and some more fancy ones, but I don't want to talk too much about features today. I'd rather talk about benefits for financial planners, financial advisors, and I'd like to actually just begin with, like, why would you even want to move your phone system or your phone lines to the cloud? I mean, what's the benefit of it? And it turns out you can have a landline and not get tied to your office. You can actually be anywhere and receive and make calls from your business landline number. And maybe the most interesting way to just show you guys is that before I started Voys, I ran a traditional plastics wholesale family business in the Netherlands. And in 2013, I moved to South Africa. But I kept my business, or at least the traditional plastics business, but I didn't tell any of my customers or suppliers. 7 years later, none 7 years later, none is the wiser, and business actually never been better. So for my customer, as far as my customers are concerned in the Netherlands, I still am in Amsterdam, and I still receive calls on my Amsterdam number, and I still place calls from my Amsterdam number. And the great thing is it doesn't matter. You can actually operate your business from anywhere. And I know one of our panelists, Johan, is in Germany right now, and we just had a pre-webinar discussion that other panelists weren't even aware, and you've been there since 2016, I think. So again, another example. It's perfectly possible, and it doesn't matter anymore. So that's a bit of that backstory. I want to discuss some of the biggest benefits for the audience. You see them on the screen: availability, flexibility, having full control, increasing your efficiency and service level, and for South Africa, quite important, being load shedding proof. Never built it for that, but it happens that it can be used to guard yourself for that as well.
Mm-hmm. Sebastian, can I maybe interrupt you on the availability side? And I think from an advisor perspective, we often think that our value add is the technical side and generating more returns. But from a lot of the studies where they've asked clients, what do you think is the most valuable? What do you value most in your advisor? Most of them have said, it's someone that can help me manage, make these decisions. And you need to be available, right? To have that discussion with your client. So availability is probably ranked number one for most of the clients, right? And I think what you're bringing is just bringing that in front of the advisor and saying, how do you increase your availability and give you the control to manage that? So maybe you can chat a bit around the availability and the flexibility balance.
Thanks. Well, it turns out actually simply being available to answer a call or returning a missed call as soon as possible is currently a sign of unrivaled customer service. It's a sad fact, but it also is a competitive advantage that is up for grabs. So simply answering calls, and if you're not able to, returning those calls, even though somebody might not have left a voicemail message, already, you're already like miles apart from competition. I'm not sure how it is in your sector, but I mean, obviously telecommunications, you're not expecting telecom to call you back when they miss your call. We do, and people are amazed. Like, I never expected you to return my call. I mean, it's so simple. You've already scored there. And I think you yourself also have a great example of that. How you landed your first big client, if I recall correctly. Do you want to share on that?
Yeah, when we started out the business, before we had office space, we wanted to make sure that we have a landline number, because 7 years ago, and I think still today, the perception is there that if you have a landline, then there must be staff and it must be a more established business. And the barrier to create that is so low. And we missed a call from one of the clients. And at that stage, you can just port or pass through the number to your cell phone. And I picked up my phone and I phoned the client back. And a couple of weeks in, we asked him, why did you decide to do business with us? And his comment was that no one else returned my phone call. So you don't always have to be the best advisor. You just have to be in front of your clients. And this just gives you another tool to be able to do that.
That's cool. Yeah. So simple.
Someone's asking you if they can run their SA consulting practice from Portugal. And I guess the answer would be yes. It doesn't really matter where you are, as long as you have internet connectivity. You'll be able to.
If you've got a fast and reliable internet connection, which is probably more, well, depends. Portugal's got a lot of rural areas as well, of course. But if it's decent, good, reliable 4G connection, or even a very stable ADSL connection will work. Obviously, fiber is first prize because it's just the most reliable right now. But I mean, we've had customers on a 2 meg ADSL line, which was stable and no problem. I actually made my first call from South Africa from Houtbay to test on a 1 meg line or something, which was ridiculous that would work, but it did, and it was consistent. So, but I don't want to. We've already got 10 minutes in, I think. So I think I need to go a bit faster. But yes, the short answer is absolutely. You can take your phone with you, plug it in anywhere you have an internet connection, and it will work. That's the simple answer. So yeah, availability. Well, one of the things you can set exactly what must happen when somebody phones your number. You set which phones must ring. Those can be VoIP phones, that can include cell phones. So for instance, what I've set up myself is that I have my desk phone ring first, and then with a 10-second delay, my cell phone also rings. So if I'm 1 foot out of the door, I can simply answer my cell and never miss a call. And be on time for my meeting, because that's the other thing, of course. So yeah, I mean, I think that's just super simple. You don't have to set your phone to transfer to your cell phone when you leave. It just automatically does that. So that's one of the things you can do. You can use the system with all kinds of devices and applications. So let me see if I can get to the next slide. So obviously physical phones, there's cordless phones, there's desk phones, switchboard phones, the conference room phones. But we also offer some free VoIP applications. So one of the things we've developed is the Voys app, which works on Android and iOS, which is a free app. And recently, I'm quite excited, we launched the web phone, which runs on your Chrome browser. It's the thing you're seeing on your left. And it's a super stable device. Obviously, like I said, it's free, so you don't have to invest in hardware per se. If you have a good headset, preferably a noise canceling microphone, it's going to work beautifully. And one of the things you're seeing in the screenshot right now is that it also shows you your colleagues' availability. So the colleagues that are red in this screenshot that I made this morning were on the phone. Green is available. You can also see who's on the app. They've got this little app icon. Yeah, you can just, by the click of a dial, just call your colleague. You don't need to know their extension number. You can see if they're available. So it's also when you have to transfer and you're not in the same room or office space, you see where to transfer to. So that's traditionally called a BLF, and that would normally only be on a receptionist's phone or something like that. But now it's anybody could have it that has a laptop and a web browser. So that's I think quite
You
neat.
almost have a PABX system at the fraction of a cost.
Yeah, we'll get to the cost at the very end, but yeah, we're offering all that kind of stuff just in it for free. It's not extra or add-ons or advanced functionality at all. It's actually all basic stuff. So, like we said, because your phones connect over the internet, you can have a landline and not get tied to your office. Well, actually, I'm repeating myself right now. That's you don't have to. Yeah, you can be anywhere. We actually already discussed that. But I think one of the other great things, and especially in countries where customer service isn't brilliant, the responsiveness isn't brilliant, you're not reliant on a technician or a dreadful call center to make any changes. You can actually manage our system yourself. So you can add and remove users and features anytime and without notice periods. So you can add, but you can also remove. So if tomorrow you want to, well, we've had this now with the lockdown, many customers said, I need to scale down. And we actually advised them, well, you can, we can do it for you, but you can also log in yourself, remove 5 users and, you pay up until today. And that's it. If you need it again, maybe in the lockdown, what is it, level 3, well, you can add them again, no problem. Same goes if you want to replace that dreadful music on hold message or the music on hold that you've had, the elevator music you've had for the last 6 years. Simply upload an MP3 file. Easy as that. You don't need a technician to change anything. Want to see?
I must say it's so easy to use. I mean, you can just log in, and as your team expand, you can just add users. And if at some stage your team may be contract, you can just take off some users. So that flexibility really is amazing.
The other thing is, why would you even expect it another way? I mean, email we can manage ourselves, websites we can manage ourselves. I think practically everything. But for some reason, your phone system is still locked in the dark ages, and you need, a technician with a laptop and pounding away for 2 hours to just change something simple. And then when they leave, something isn't working, and it just doesn't make any sense anymore. So anyway, yeah, what we've got is that. A self-service web portal, you log in, you make all those changes. And you can also see what you've been billed for. So after you hang up that call to China, you just log in, you check the real-time call detail records, and you see what you've been charged. Again, free feature, not something you have to pay extra for, or something that's only unlocked when you have a certain subscription, just available to anybody. If you want to see how well you're doing answering inbound calls, you can just log into your dashboard, and this was actually our statistics from last week. It'll show you how many calls you answered, what are your best days, or if you look on day level, what are your best hours. So you see if during lunchtime, for instance, you miss calls, you can maybe make changes there. So that's something that you can do. But what actually excites me the most, though, is the opportunity to integrate with third-party web applications. I think that's actually the most exciting thing. So I think as a general advice for everybody here, I'd like to say, whatever tech tools you use in 2020, make sure that they talk to other applications. You really don't want to have your data and your stuff siloed in a particular tool. You want it to talk to each other. And well, one of the things that we've developed is that Voys connects to Zapier, and I'm not sure if everybody's available or what is it?
Familiar.
Know Zapier, but what it does, it connects to, right now, I checked on the website just now, 2,000 web apps. So it allows you to link web software to other web software without having to, get a developer in to work on an API and that kind of stuff. So just quickly, again, I don't want to get too technical, but one of the things we've done is we've linked our system to Slack. And Slack is a team communications tool, a little bit like, let's say like WhatsApp, and you've got group chats and all that kind of stuff. You can send direct messages. This is our general group chat for our customer experience team. And whenever we miss a call, we get this little message that, well, you can see says, hey, we missed a call and who's returning it. And we've agreed together that if you, give a thumbs up, we know you've called the person back. So it's a simple way to make communication among colleagues more efficient and make sure that call never slips through the cracks. You can also create other reminders. You can send an SMS, or you can add a to-do item on your favorite CRM or your task management application. It's really up to you how you want to do it, but this really worked for us. Another integration that we've built that's currently in private beta, but available for customers as well, is we're connecting directly to HubSpot CRM with our call notifications plugin. And yeah, I mean, that's again great. If you make or receive a call, it immediately logs in the timeline of your customer in CRM. You can see who made the call, how long it was. You can add a description and all that kind of stuff. That just makes it nice to see what the exact timeline is with your customer. So I hope I've provided some inspiration for ways to link Voys to other tools and maybe also increase efficiency. But more importantly, I think the service level that you can provide to your clients. I think that's the most exciting thing. Like I said, I'm rounding off. Like I said, because the phone system is in the cloud, it's not affected by load shedding or an internet outage. You can automatically divert calls to cell phone apps or to groups of cell phones. The telephone system is in a data center, and we're in several data centers. So even if a whole data center would go down, then your phone system would still be up. I think that's also quite exciting. And the same goes, of course, if you have an internet outage at your office, that shouldn't affect you because you can still have those failovers. Currently, we're all working from home. I think just like most of you. No problem, because that's what we're set up for. Not just with our own telephone system, but also with all the tools that we use. They're also all cloud-based. Just a quick one. It starts at 70 Rand a month. And that will give you one extension and one number. We don't do contracts, so you can cancel anytime, like not with no notice period. You can keep your number, so we can port telecom numbers or Neotel numbers or whatever you have. We can have you set up within 1 day. Doesn't take a week. Don't have to go anywhere. Do it, simply from the comforts of your house or your office. And we have a special offer for you all. Just let one of our colleagues know you heard about us via AdviceTech Conference, and we'll apply a 50% discount on your setup fees. That's all you need to do, and that's me. I hope I'm in time. Yeah, 20 minutes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sebastian. I see there's there's tons of questions coming in. What will happen after the session is that you'll be sent to a page where there's links to all of the providers and these offers that they've mentioned. Welcome to have a chat with them. We'll be sending out the recording of this probably tomorrow with the slides, the presenters, the ones that are happy to share that. And if there's any specific questions, you're welcome to reach out to me or to Sebastian or to the Voys team. A question that I saw a couple of times was the recording section. So yes, you can have a recording of the webinar, and you can also have recordings of voice calls, incoming and outgoing, which is super easy to download. So I think with that, we're going to be handing over to Rob, and Rob's the CEO and co-founder of QuicklySign. A lot of you might be familiar with QuicklySign. It's the same system that Sanlam uses. I've heard a lot of people saying that they use the Sanlam system for their digital signatures. And Rob's going to be sharing about QuicklySign and the business and how we can use digital signatures today. So over to you, Rob.
Cool. Thanks very much, Louis. And thanks for having us. Right. I'm just going to share my screen quick.
Forgot to mention that it's also part of the momentum.
Right.
I'm sure you'll touch on that.
No, we'll get to all of that now, I guess. Cool. And let's open up presentation here. Cool. Thanks for having me. Yes. So as Louis said, I'm from QuicklySign, and it's great that you've organized this tech conference. So the first thing about us, we're a Cape Town-based startup. We've been providing e-sign services for 6 years now. You might have used us before if you've used Sanlam e-sign or M-sign or PPS e-sign or any of those services. We've also rolled out to quite a few local estate agents and various people like that. So you might have signed a lease or done something with us without realizing it was us. And we also now provide services for financial advisors directly. So we have QuicklySign Financial, which is intended as a place to use QuicklySign, and over time we're going to be adding more and more features that are specific for financial advisors. So things like industry templates or industry forms that would make sense for you to always use. We plan on having those available for you in QuicklySign Financial. So the benefits of QuicklySign, well, obviously, there's lots of features that we can discuss, but the benefits are the main things I want to get across. And the main benefit of signing electronically is that it saves you time. You get your agreement signed faster, and the reminders and notifications are automated. So if there are multiple people to sign, the signing requests automatically go to the next person in the list, and there's very little there's very little work required from your side to actually keep the document going between all the signers. The next part as a benefit is that it's legally binding, secure, and auditable. That's probably the most important part. Just copying and pasting signatures into a PDF is sort of dangerous in that, so if you just gave someone an ordinary PDF and you said, please, please drop your signature in here, it's not really an auditable process. You would need to save the email that it came in on. You would need to verify that it was them who actually did that work. So QuicklySign handles all of that for you. So it takes control over the document so that it's not being passed around from party to party. And it also allows them to sign in a way that is secure and auditable. So I'm just opening up the chat here just to see what's happening. Okay, so Greg asks, is easy sign, so it's QuicklySign first of all, is it accepted? Is it accepted by all financial institutions? So it's accepted by most financial institutions. most of our financial advisors that use the service are, haven't had any issues. There's one or two, I think Discovery recently had one or two problems, but I think those are sort of falling away as QuicklySign becomes more accepted by more companies. And where there are issues, we're happy to follow up and actually, speak to their legal departments and, just their compliance officers and people like that to try and resolve the issues. Right. Can you brand it for our group with QuicklySign? Yeah, so we definitely do branding. The branding that I'm speaking about here, so in terms of professional appearance, your branding in emails. So that's, so your branding in emails is just the basic branding that comes standard with QuicklySign. That is, it's available under the standard QuicklySign solution. If you want a full enterprise version, then obviously we have to discuss what your requirements are, and then we set up an instance for you that is cloud hosted and will have your whole solution completely branded. So we've rolled that out for quite a few different clients as well, not just the Momentums and the Sunlums, but other companies as well, like Harcourts and Wilson Properties and some of the other ones like that. Okay, so back to professional appearance here. The other part that's professional is that it's an easy signing process for clients. So I've had our users telling us that it's so simple that even their grandfather could use it, and that that's just a nice, we're very happy with when people tell us that kind of thing. The signing process is simple in that a person doesn't have to print out the document and then drop their signature on and then scan it back in. It just automatically happens. It takes the person, they receive an email, they enter an OTP, and then they are the signer is taken to the spot in the email where they need to, to the spot in the document where they need to sign or where they need to fill out information. And you can't continue the process until the required fields are done. And there's various cool points like that. Any other questions on that for now? No.
I'll kind of field some of the questions and see if there's anything that pops up.
Okay, cool.
I think there's still very much a frustration with a lot of providers not accepting or being very prescriptive of which platforms they accept. We've often seen if you send it in twice to the same business, someone might accept it and someone won't. And I think it's probably a push from the advisors just to get these platforms to also start accepting more so that they can continue business and we can continue doing business. I know that Johan Vosloo experienced QuicklySign not too long ago, and it might be great to hear just what he says. I don't know if he's keen to come off mute and just in a word or a sentence, kind of your experience of having to sign with QuicklySign.
Absolutely. So I've got the privilege to be to have Louis as my financial advisor, so I can abuse him whenever I want, which is lovely. And I recently had a bunch of retirement annuities, old paid up things and things like that, and I just want to consolidate them. And I've tried to do this before, but the amount of paperwork that got pushed under my nose every time, I just said, forget it. And Louis, through QuicklySign, that was literally like 2-3 weeks ago. What a pleasant experience. 2-3 minutes, done. Through stacks of different documents, different providers, done. Great. I can't recommend it anymore. It was fantastic.
Great.
Well, thanks.
For that, Johan.
That's amazing feedback. Thank you. Yeah, great. Okay, so easy to use. Anyone can understand what to do. Awesome. Thanks, Janine. Do you have a set of compliance documents? Greg, do you mean documents that we hand over to compliance people, or do you mean more from built-in compliance documents?
I think probably what we can add to that is that there's an audit log that you can see, but there's no kind of pre-populated compliance template. You'd have to work with your compliance officer to build a set of templates that you can upload. But you can definitely create standard templates that you can reuse, right? By sending someone the link, they can use the same form over and over again. So I hope that answers your question, Greg.
Also, we're looking at, as more financial advisors come on board, we're more than happy to add more of your frequently used templates from different providers, because we understand that, you know, those are what are important to you. And yeah, we'll work on that to make that more of a standout feature from our side. Thanks, Greg. Okay, some other great features for financial advisors. Okay, so we've got one-time PINs for securing the signing process. So the one-time PINs serve as 2 points. One is for two-factor authentication. So it's a second identifier for the client. We're going to talk about FICA stuff just now, so maybe we need to bring that in later as well. Maybe we can integrate the two systems. But so one-time PINs from that side, it helps for securing the access to the documents as well as for authenticating. Branding, so the branding which we discussed, and that's both for enterprise level branding and also just like branding in your emails. Self-service forms, we've got some features like, you know, if you need an astute document signed, you know, the request for information, and the client can mostly fill out that information. You can provide your link to a template, and the client can start that process themselves. So you don't have to kick it off the whole time. Teams for sharing of documents. So our teams act as shared folders in QuicklySign, and yeah, those are pretty useful for sharing documents amongst your team. Reusable templates, we've touched on that already as well. So if you send the same document over and over, you set up a reusable template, and that helps to streamline your process. Yeah, the second last point, just send thousands of documents in a single request. So we've got bulk send enabled on QuicklySign Financial. It's not there by default, so you'll need to ask us for access to that. What it does is you can upload your whole set of clients that you're wanting to send a contract to. So this is useful for things like Section 14 policy renewals and those kind of things where you want to just send it out and get it done quickly without having to keep following up and keep asking people to come back to you. Okay, then API integration. We've got quite extensive APIs, and there's also a lot of the new CRMs, and in fact that's my next slide. A lot of the financial advisors CRMs are integrating with us now as well, so that you can send your data from whether it's Elite Wealth or one of those companies. You can send your data straight into QuicklySign. Yeah, upcoming. So these are sort of the roadmap that we're working on now. So it's more integrations with CRMs. An address book feature. It's one of the most frequently asked things, which we are getting to finally. Just being able to not type in an email address and mobile number over and over, so it will automatically insert those. Hopefully it's a round of applause there. Do you connect with that work? Yeah, that's hopefully on the way, Greg. So yeah, we're in discussions with them as well. With CRMs, are you currently integrated with? So Andrew, we are busy with talks with a lot of them at the moment. So we will give you details on that once we know for sure who we are integrating with and who we aren't. Okay.
And Rob, like Sebastian said, that API is so important because it allows you to connect so many different software, right? You're not being held hostage by a big provider. You can connect the software that you want to use. That's right. We've also got, like this new easy tag syntax. So that's what we're busy with at the moment. And what that is, it's almost like a mail merge syntax that you can mark up your documents to say that this is where the signature field must go. And it's just in text. So if you've got in your at work template or at something else, you could just mark up your templates with the QuicklySign syntax. And when you export that form from at work and you import it into QuicklySign, it will then, and it doesn't have to be at work, it could be any of your solutions that you're using, it will then automatically assign where the user must sign. And those kind of things are what we think are quite valuable. They're just really lightweight. They don't take much work from your side in terms of having to do deep integrations, but they're sort of
good bang for your buck kind of solutions. Another more complex solution that we're busy with is conditional fields. And that's so that you can conditionally enable and disable fields on a document so that, they only have to fill out certain sections if they, for example, if I'm over 75 years old, then I only want to I don't have to fill out this section, or whatever the case may be. So there's a lot of things that are coming on the horizon with conditional fields. Okay. I don't know. I actually didn't start my timer to know how far we are, but you can go to QuicklySign.com. Okay, you can go to QuicklySign.com/AdviceTech to sign up and receive 20% off your first year subscription. Again, subscriptions are month to month, so you're not holding to a contract. I've also just included here how to set up a document, how to sign a document, and checking document progress. They're quick, like 1-minute videos. So I don't know if you guys want to see those quickly, or if you just want to ask questions. I'm just looking at the question board right now. Don't see any others coming in.
I think it would be great, Rob, if we can give people the links to those videos so that they can spend a bit of time just watching that. And maybe what I can add is that we've looked at a lot of the global signing solutions, right, from HelloSign, and well, there's a long list of them. And I think the benefit of supporting a local platform also means that you can get the providers to back you and just support the local tech guys, and it comes at a fraction of the cost, and you get the same functionality and probably even better than a lot of the other bigger players or global players. So thanks so much for that, Rob, and we look forward to seeing how it's going to be expanding. Is there any other questions? Someone's asking if Xplan or Iris is planning on rolling out. I don't know if you can answer that one, Rob.
I don't. Why aren't I seeing that question? Is it not in the?
It's in the Q&A. There's a couple.
Sorry, Q&A. Well. I'm missing that one. Let me start that up quick. Okay, Q&A. Okay, 8 questions. Iris Xplan. I haven't spoken to the guys at Xplan. We've got a big provider now that signed up that is using Xplan. So hopefully we can start those discussions now. If they're going to integrate with their e-sign version, then it would make sense to roll it out to the financial service options as well. Does your system allow pages to be initialed if need be? Yes, you can initial pages. What's the cost again? The cost is 195 Rand, excluding VAT per month. That's for a single user plan. If you've got a team plan, then it's 550 Rand, excluding VAT per month. We include OTPs in that cost. And yeah, if you come through this AdviceTech link, you'll get 20% off those costs. Are you integrated with WealthPro system? Not yet. I will contact them though. I haven't actually. Yeah, we haven't had any detail on that as yet.
Seems like you're going to be busy after this session.
Yeah. Would certification be possible for QuicklySign? That's from Janus Engelbrecht. What does that mean?
So if I can maybe
question for QuicklySign, would certification?
If I can take a stab at it, oftentimes as financial planners, you have to stamp it as a commissioner of oaths, which saying that this is the person's true signature. My feeling on that would be that because you're not in front of the person, you can't really identify and see that it is them signing. So I would imagine that that's probably still off the cards. And the same goes for wills, right? You can't be signing wills electronically until legislation maybe catches up.
I mean, we also have looked at options like, for example, having video, saving video during the process so that you can see the person signing and save that. We're not really sure if that's really the right approach for now. I think it might be a little bit too technical for some users. But the other option is, if the law does start getting a little hazy, is in your Zoom session to have the signing session open so that you can explain to the user what they're doing. And maybe if you're using voice, then you can record the whole session as well. So you've got everything going there, all the recordings to go along with your signed contract. So yeah, I think there are options there for future, but I'm not sure, what the law is going to allow for in that. We use Adobe Sign. What are the main differences in QuicklySign and Adobe? Gerald, the cost The cost is one of them. Yeah, there's a couple of things there, but yeah, the cost is the main one. Adobe is obviously a great product. It's international. It's like one of the they make PDFs. So look, they are a great product. Whether it's better than QuicklySign or not, I don't know. I think it's quite a simple product. Well, I mean, our product's quite simple, but I might be biased. Yeah. More to do with document certification. I certify that this is a copy of the original document. Thanks. Okay, cool. That's what you said. Resolutions and SIP-C docs. Jessica, I'm not sure about that. Yeah, I don't know the deals on resolutions or SIP-Cs, whether they need a wet ink signature. I wouldn't think that they would need a wet ink signature. Again, like what the ECT Act allows for is electronic signature is anything, suitable for most things, except where the law says that a actual signature is required, in which case then you have to give a wet ink signature. So things like wills and transfer agreements are typically things that need a wet ink signature. Okay,
Awesome.
That about it. I think we hit our 20 minutes.
I think that's about it, Rob. I mean, if there's any other questions, we'll have everyone's contact details after this session. There'll be a landing page with links directly to them. You're more than welcome to engage one-on-one discussions. And yeah, thank you so much, Rob. And thanks also for the generous discount that you're offering everyone. Cool. Really appreciate your time. And thanks for that.
Cool. Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
Cool. So if you just joined us, we've got quite a big crowd of people and still a great lineup to follow. We've heard from Sebastian from Voys talking about how you can get the functionality of a cell phone with the benefits of a landline and managing between a team. Rob shared with us from QuicklySign how you can use electronic signatures and that doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg. And next up, we've got Chris from FICA, which is also a part that most of you would have a bit of headache from a risk perspective. Chris is going to talk us through how their software allows you to screen and risk rate your clients, which I think is something that's critically important if most of our interactions are going to be online or digital. So with that, I'm going to ask you to share your screen, Chris.
Thanks, Louis. I think Rob needs to just exit his...
Yeah, let's do that. Rob, if you don't mind,
cool.
Just exiting.
Yeah, stopping share. Got it.
Cool.
There we go.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. There we go. Okay. Share. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thanks, Louis, for inviting me. I am not going to talk about the technical aspects of our solution. I think it would rather detract as a lawyer to try and hype up the tech. I'll get the techies to do that. I'm going to be talking for about 15 minutes or so, and I thought that I would rather dwell a bit on the imperative of doing the right things with regards to anti-money laundering, because that positions the solution far better. If you can listen for 15 minutes and we try and stop at the same time, that would be great. And then I think Louis is going to have a few questions as well. Next one.
Cool.
Okay, so I spent the last 35 years in various risk management, legal advisory, managerial and director positions for insurance companies, for small bank, and so on. And the one thing that struck me is that has always upset me was the fact that from a compliance and risk management perspective, one always has to adopt a carrot and stick approach to try and get people to adhere to certain things. And I thought that around about 2012, when I decided that I was going to start building some software for anti-money laundering, that would change, but regrettably it hasn't. So you will find some references in the presentation later on where I still have to use a rather crude carrot and stick kind of approach, just to keep the attention focused. So some of you, I beg your pardon, will recall 2012 or so, the FIC made a change. They introduced this so-called single client view. specifically affecting large companies like insurers and banks, that regardless of where you open an account with them, they all have to see your risk profile. They all have to know who they're dealing with. And as I acquired the use cases from the Reserve Bank of Zambia, who had already been doing something similar for years in Zambia. They also act as the FIC and for Zambia, and they also kind of do the census on an annual basis. So we acquired those use cases, started developing a system, and when we were about ready to launch towards the end of 2016, the FIC gave notice that they proposed to amend the Act and change the very foundation of anti-money laundering in South Africa with this so-called shift from a rules-based approach to a risk-based approach in anti-money laundering. And subsequent to that, every single conference that I've attended, every single article that I've read starts with this reference to the shift from a rules to a risk-based approach. But what I also find in reality is that very, very few people really understand what the implications are from a FICA perspective and from a practice perspective. So our philosophy, our underpinning approach to the solution that we've developed was not to gather as much as possible with regards to people's identities, because there are many other service providers out there who specialize in getting identities and verifying identities, and then seeing where they can find a place to sell those identities, whether that's for anti-money laundering or for just customer onboarding or supplier risk rating, whatever the case may be. Ours is slightly different because our approach has been different, that we started from the perspective of our chosen target market, which is you guys, the independent financial advisors, simply because individually you lack the kind of scale by reference to the number of clients that you have to attract the attention of the big players, the guys who are focusing on the banks and the insurers. So generally, you get dropped off the radar and there's no solution that applies to you, and you end up having to do all of these things manually. And as you'll see a little bit later on, the manual requirement, if you want to meet all the requirements of the FICA now, is a huge, huge obligation. So we've started from that perspective. So what does this shift from rules to risk-based mean? Let's just quickly review what is meant generally by risk management. And if you've heard all of this before, then please forgive me. But there are really two main items, main aspects to risk management. And it doesn't matter whether you are a small business, a sole proprietor, or a multinational. These two things are immutable. They don't change. So the first one is identification of risk. And the second is how you respond to that risk. And under the response to risk, there are a number of things that you are required to do if you want to meet generally accepted best risk management practice. So you have to assess the risk by reference to the nature, the likelihood that it will occur, the impact that it will have on you. You have to then, based on that assessment, decide whether you're going to accept the risk with a mitigatory component to it, or whether you're going to reject the risk. And that procedure that you have should be aligned to your corporate risk appetite statement. And then the last thing that you have to do once you've accepted the risk, in general terms, is that there is a requirement for ongoing management of the risk. So you must review it regularly. You must see that it's still a relevant risk, whether it has increased, whether it's decreased, and that kind of thing. So it becomes a work in progress as you go along. So let's park that to one side. Those are general risk management principles. What has happened with the FICA in particular, and with anti-money laundering risk, is the very structure of the previous regime, which was a rules-based regime, did not lend itself to people adopting general risk management principles to the FICA. So you'll recall the bad old days where you had to do what is known as KYC, or know your customer, where the law said you can only see a client, you can only verify a client's identity if you do it face to face. You're only allowed to accept, for instance, a green bar-coded ID as verification of identity. You have to have this kind of document or that kind of document to verify the client's residential address. And what had happened since the inception of the FICA in 2002 is that the KYC requirements attained such prominence that people started to believe that if they had done that, they had done everything that they were supposed to do with regards to the FICA. And that then resulted at the back end, from a regulatory perspective, in huge inefficiencies because they did not get from this procedure that they thought they should get. And to this day, many accountable institutions still think that if they do KYC and they add a little bit of screening, to which I'll return later, they add a little bit of screening to it, they still believe that they have done exactly what the Act requires. And unfortunately, since April 2017, nothing could be further from the truth. The scope of what you have to do as an accountable institution has been so enormously expanded that KYC now forms a really small part of it before you're allowed to activate a client's account. And then many other accountable institutions often come back and say, well, let's take the example of an estate agent where a client has to undergo a procedure 3 times because the estate agent has to do customer due diligence, then the conveyancing attorney does one, and then the bank does one. And that is exactly what the regulator requires now, because somewhere in the middle of 3 different kinds of risk ratings is where the true profile of the client lies, and that's what they're after. So it is no longer sufficient for you to only do KYC, and it is no longer sufficient for you to say, well, I'm relying on the KYC that was performed by someone else in the value chain. There is a particular public compliance communication that's a reference to the PCC on the screen that says it's no longer okay. You can't do that. So from the 1st of April 2017, this adoption of a risk-based approach, 2 big things. The first one is that you must now have demonstrable processes in your business in a new document, which is called your Risk Management and Compliance Program. If done properly, it is a fairly substantial document. The law goes so far as to say that you have even to describe the processes that you will adopt to implement your new processes in this document. So it is quite a substantial document. And the second main aspect is, in the past, there were those unfortunate individuals who were nominated as compliance officers for anti-money laundering purposes in Section 43 of the Act. And what had happened is that the owners of the business and the directors of the business quite conveniently could shift the burden onto the shoulders of that person. The FICA put a stop to that. It has scrapped Section 43 of the Act. There is no longer a position of an anti-money laundering compliance officer. There is only a position of an anti-money laundering reporting officer. Directors, owners, trustees, and partners and members of close corporations now jointly and severally assume personal liability for instances of non-compliance. So it has the effect of kind of focusing the attention a little bit more.
Yeah, I think if anyone's gone through that process of setting that up, it's quite onerous, and you end up scratching your head for a long time. And
yeah, and you end up running rings around it, not wanting to go back to it, you know.
Yeah. And the software really does make that part so much easier, which I'm sure you'll get to shortly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So very, very quickly, what is the move? What does the law says? The law says you must have a documented procedure to enable the institution to identify, assess, monitor, mitigate, and manage the risk that the client holds, the likelihood that the client might be engaged in money laundering or terror financing activities. So what I thought I wanted to do is just provide an overlay between what the FICA now says, because it's quite a substantial change, to what the general risk management principles that we discussed earlier have to say. And it's a bit of a busy, messy slide, so forgive me for that. But you'll see that the identification is repeated in the FICA now. The assessment finds its duplicate in the review requirement on the general risk management principles. The monitoring, well, assessment is assessment. The monitoring finds the review. Mitigate remains mitigate, and the management remains the same. So what the Act has achieved now that it didn't do previously is that it has taken all the generally accepted risk management principles and it has put it squarely in the ambit of what you as an accountable institution now have to do. And the processes that you have to demonstrate is that you have procedures and processes to do exactly all of those things, starting with the first requirement, which is, you'll recall in the past, it said before you enter into a transaction or a business relationship with a client, you have to perform KYC, the establishment and verification of identity and residence. It now says before you enter into a transaction or a business relationship, you have to perform a customer due diligence. And the customer due diligence is a much expanded exercise by comparison to just KYC. So there are three types of customer due diligence. The one is a simple or simplified customer due diligence. And that typically would happen if you sold or produced, for instance, just funeral policies, because the risk for abuse there is very low. And then it would be adequate for you to simply take an identity and run the risk that someone might abuse your products. The standard customer due diligence is the kind of procedure that is applicable to roughly 96 or 98% of all your clients. And from the standard customer due diligence, should potential risks be identified, you will flip over into an enhanced due diligence procedure. So your customer due diligence, the standard customer due diligence, is the cornerstone of your client's acceptance processes now from an anti-money laundering perspective. And that informs in turn how you perform enhanced due diligence, the frequency with which you re-verify, because you must re-verify all the client's data that is subject to change, and whether you do that every 6 months, a year, 2 years, or 3 years. And then it also informs the reporting obligations that you have to fulfill, how often you report, what kind of reports you make in respect of the client, and so on. So just graphically to demonstrate, and then I think I'm pretty almost done. So we're sitting with some key risk requirements now in customer due diligence, in the standard customer due diligence, of which know your customer is 1A and 1B by reference to identity and residence. The screening results is 2A and 2B by reference to in the interrogation of certain lists prescribed by the United Nations Security Council, whether you are a person against whom sanctions have been imposed or whether you are a person against whom financial sanctions, targeted financial sanctions have been imposed. And you need to identify both of those because the requirements are different in terms of how you react. The third is that you must provide a taxonomy of your own products and services, and you must risk rate your products and services to see what the likelihood is that a client may abuse them for purposes of money laundering or terror financing. And then the last component is that you must formulate a set of questions to which must add to your risk assessment of the client, so that you understand your client's business, to see whether the products and services that the client avails himself of are consistent with your understanding of the client's business. And secondly, the FIC also has identified certain industries which they regard as higher risk than others. So you are also required to make an inquiry as to that. And all of those things in result come to the fore in the form of an integrated risk rating of that client. And that risk score then informs how you deal with the client further. It is this entire process, the standard customer due diligence part of your obligation, that we automate fully. So please permit me to show you a very short video. It's only 1 minute. There is also a 3-minute and a 6-minute video if you want to know more on our website. You just click on the Learn More icon. Wait for that. There are two sides to FICA compliance, the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. You deal with the spirit of the law in your corporate culture. We deal with the letter of the law to make you 100% compliant. The letter of the law says you must have something like this: a risk report which shows that you have been able to identify each separate category of risk that make up customer due diligence, that you have assessed the risk, that you have a procedure that allows you to mitigate the risk, a procedure that allows you to manage the process overall, and to keep accurate record of your activities. What's more, you must repeat the process with regular intervals. Easy FICA does all of this automatically. Why not let us do it for you?
Great.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that, Chris.
Sure.
We'll be sharing the link to the software and to your YouTube videos as well. And I really urge you to have a discussion with Chris, maybe together with your compliance officer. Someone asked if you work with Masthead. I'm sure any compliance officer would more than happily jointly look at the solution that you have.
Yes, absolutely. And we are also in the process of, it's a freestanding system, but we are also in the process of talks with some of the larger CRM providers and other systems providers for an integration there. So thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. And thank you for the generous offer.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Right. So if you just joined us, we are roughly halfway. Thanks for sticking around. We've heard from Sebastian from Voys, and we've heard from Rob from QuicklySign, and Chris has shared with us what they do in their business from a risk rating perspective. My good friend Gustav is going to be sharing with us WealthPro and what he has built, and very proud of this iteration in the business. And it's going to be a shorter session, but we really wanted to make sure that you're aware of this and it's something that you can expand on. We saw some results this morning with one of the FPI surveys they sent out on the impact of COVID-19 and what advisors expect. And the one that was kind of highest up was being able to get and service new clients. And I think Gustav would really touch on that as well. So over to you, Gustav.
Yeah, thanks, Louis. Thanks for the opportunity. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, from a very cold and wet Cape Town today. I'm freezing cold here in my house. But yeah, I wanted to introduce very quickly WealthPro to you guys. So WealthPro at the core is a hybrid robo-advice platform, but today I want to position it to you that it could be your virtual assistant to help you to deliver a digital experience to your clients. Do you think about it differently? It takes the best of what you have to offer and then combines it with technology. So I've been a financial advisor for 16 years now, and over the last 16 years, I've seen a lot of trends kind of unfolding. As Chris just mentioned now, I mean, compliance, we are all just drowning in compliance. It feels like it's a never-ending kind of battle that we're fighting. Just as you think you have one aspect under control, the legislation and the law changes. And we're all constantly kind of under this admin burden. If you are independent or deal with more than one product provider, the forms constantly change, everything just constantly change. And we, instead of focusing our attention on our core income generating activities, which is building strong relationships with clients and attracting more new clients, we are pushing papers, sending emails back and forth, making coffee, dealing with HR issues, and also trying to balance the books at the end of the month. If you also feel like me, I sometimes feel like I'm currently having a bit of Zoom fatigue, because suddenly everybody is just jumping on every potential bandwagon with regards to webinars. And if I get one more email of COVID-19 from a product provider, I might just flip. So that's one key trend that I've seen that we all struggle with, and the struggle is real. Another key trend that I've seen is playing out, and Louis mentioned it right in the beginning, is that our role as financial advisors are changing, and it's changing rapidly. Going forward, you will not have to be the cleverest person in the room. I literally just yesterday got an email from a client. The email read, "Hi, I Googled this question. Google answered me this way. I just want to double check that my interpretation of the answer is correct." I think we are naive in thinking that being technically savvy or being the smartest person in the room is going to deliver certain results. That's not going to be the case. I think our role as financial advisors are going to evolve and shift much more towards the role of a personal coach or behavioral coach, where we need to nudge and guide clients in a certain direction to help them actually make their own decisions and just nudge them in the right direction. Our value add will not be completing paperwork. Our value add will not be the most technical savvy person in the room. All that we need to do is just assist and guide the client along his kind of investment, or not investment, let's say financial planning journey. So knowing all of that, so what does the future look like? And in our view, the future looks kind of something like this. So what I wanted to do now in very short snippets is just run through a couple of the key features that we feel are very important and how we can help you to deliver this digital experience. So to start off with, WealthPro is a white label solution. So your brand, your color scheme. At the heart, it's a goal-based investment portal. So your client will choose an investment goal that is pertinent and important to him. Depending on which one he chooses, he would be guided through a bit of a decision tree where we ask certain questions. You can complete that on a mobile device or desktop, and with your help or without your help. At the end, there will be certain goal estimates that will be kicked out, and you'll have the ability to save that goal, give it a name, add a picture to that. That last part is obviously very important because behavioral finance has shown that if a client personalizes an investment goal, he's much more likely to stick with the investment goal throughout the entire journey and be much less focused on investment performance and fees. Something that I think everybody that lived through March, or that quarterly statement that went out end of March, it wasn't fun. After the client has created the investment goal, he can go back to the application and now execute on this investment. So he knows what he wants to do, so now he can create a new investment. It will generate an investment proposal. Very importantly, that's your investment proposal. It invests in the funds that you decide. You charge your normal investment fees, and again, the client would just be followed through a bit of a journey to complete certain of his static information, upload certain documentation that might be required. The net result will effectively be a scenario where there will be zero paper. The ID verification, as noted with Chris, will be the very generic or simplified version where we just do a credit check, check to the credit bureau, and also overlay that with a very basic risk profiling questionnaire to make sure that the client invests appropriately. As I said, the net result would be a fully compliant investment proposal. And very importantly, as Sebastian also mentioned, I think that going forward, and that's something that we're also focusing quite a lot, is in terms of expanding our API capabilities. So again, what I'm showing you is kind of the virtual kind of assistant that you can use now, but over time, we will definitely want to overlap and integrate other providers, as an example, Easy FICA, to make sure that the FICA, and I also believe that the risk profiling in the future will change dramatically. So once the investment is in place, or very importantly, clients have existing investments, again, the client can go back and view and track his active investments or his active goals. You can link multiple investments to one investment goal. And if he clicks on his portfolio section, he'll be able to view a consolidated view of all his investments. At the moment, we get data feeds from all the major list providers, and we are aggressively working on expanding that list. Things like your portfolios, the unit price, the amount of units, everything will reflect there. And also, very importantly, he'll be able to service his existing investments. So again, depending just on what type of investment, the client goes to the application, presses a button, and instructions are securely and efficiently sent directly back to your back office. So you notified if a client makes any changes, and you execute on that from your side. So in a nutshell, you can onboard new clients, but also very importantly, you can service your existing clients. And as I said, I think COVID-19 had a massive kind of a focus in terms of how do we deal with clients that we used to just get in our car and drive to them. And I think the future is changing, and it's changing dramatically. So it's very important for us as financial planners to integrate and to use technology in our business and in our practices. So over the last kind of 18 months, this kind of fourth industrial revolution term has been bandied about. And at every conference that we go to, the importance of using technology is hammered. But I feel that most financial advisors are stuck like deers in headlights. They just don't know where to start. And ultimately, all that we want is those things listed below, which is to increase our AUM, to improve our client experience, and to have less admin and less stress. And this is where we feel WealthPro is ideally suited to tick all of those boxes. So where to from here? Well, it's straightforward. All that you need to do is you just need to go to www.wealthpro.co.za. You'll see in the top right-hand section, there's a FSP sign-up page. Follow the sign-up process. It's a simple 3-step process, and we'll create and activate your account. You can have your own hybrid robo-advice solution up and running by tomorrow this time. And also, as most of the other attendees, we're also having a special offer at the moment where we've extended our traditional 1-month free trial to a 2-month free trial with no setup fees. So importantly, you can effectively use our software, see how it can integrate and use in your existing business and practices for 2 months for free. And yeah, with that, nice, short and sweet. I don't know if there's any questions that you've picked up, Louis, from your side.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gustav. I haven't seen anything. I see Russell's busy typing something. And I think we've seen all these robo-advisors globally, and we've seen so many different iterations. This is almost, it's the local one that you can white label and you can customize to your needs to actually focus on the things that are probably most important, right?
Yeah, very true. So as I said, there's a couple of, let's call it options available in the market. The fact that we are completely independent, the fact that you can decide what you want to put in the robo-advice, and very importantly, in terms of the funds and the platforms, etc., that you have that we're platform agnostic, that you can decide where you want to place the money, puts us in a very different light. Most of the other product robo-advice solutions available in South Africa are kind of driven by a product provider. So ultimately, the money would want to kind of flow into their funds, which we can completely understand. Where our solution, it depends on what the financial advisor wants. That is the one key differentiator. And then with regards to the iterations, I think what we saw in the first version of all these robo-advice solutions was that it was 100% machine, or everything just algorithms and just technology. And what we've realized now is that the role of the financial advisor is critical in this process. That's why we've developed it where the financial advisor is front and center with regards to our solution. So a lot of other features with regards to making sure that when your client is stuck anywhere along the process, you link up to the advisor. The role of the financial advisor is going to be critical, but his role is going to change. So it's not more just with regards to your technical skills, but just being there to kind of to guide and help and assist the client through his kind of investment journey.
Awesome. And you also charge a fixed fee per month, right? Not an assets under management fee.
Yeah, also very importantly, so our fee works out at 700 Rand per month, VAT included, and it is it's not a percentage. We initially, when we went to market, we asked around, and the combination of either assets under management or flat fee, but we feel we don't want to discriminate against kind of your bigger asset value kind of clients. We see ourselves as a technology platform and we provide a service, yeah, so the flat fee was the way to go and to move forward with regards to that. Awesome. And the best way to kind of how I position it to other advisors, and that's why I like the term in terms of your digital assistant. This is kind of another assistant that you incorporate in your practice, but at a fraction of the cost, without the HR headache, without legal and compliance requirements that comes with employing a person. There's no sick leave, there's no COVID-19 issues as example, but you are able to expand the amount of clients that you can reach, and very importantly, aggressively build your assets under management.
Great. Thanks so much for that, Gustav. I see Russell sent a lot of questions. I'm sure the two of you will connect and touch through that. Linda is saying, just clapping your hands, and you've hit the nail on the spot. And I love seeing more and more of these structures and how they integrate together. So thanks so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah, thank you. Just as a final note, so going forward, a key thing that we'll focus on is just the integration with other third-party providers. As I said, there's a panel with great software available, and I think in the future, APIs and holding hands and connecting systems will definitely be the way to move forward.
It's important to note there's a couple of questions that the assets don't sit on WealthPro, it still sits with the traditional LISPs.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll answer all the questions with regards to that, but then anybody else can just contact me directly as well.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Gustav. And if you just joined us, we've had quite a long lineup, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from Johan from Commspace and then Adam from Asset Map, all the way from Philadelphia. Both of these two are sitting outside of South Africa, so we've got global panelists. And Johan's going to touch a bit on what they do, but I think more so the mindset of a tech business and how financial planners can incorporate that. So Johan, with that, I'm going to be handing over to you, and look forward to it.
Louis, thank you very much. Let me get this bad boy up. And how's that? Okay, so yeah, yes, Louis, thanks for putting this together. What a great idea, just and in such a short time. And I'm blown away by the response of the number of people that's viewing this. I'm sure loads are going to be watching the recording afterwards. So you know, it just goes to show, right? Advisors are always interested in tech and solutions to improve their practice management, improve their client engagements, and you know, make their lives easier. So you know, that kind of, as Louis teed it up, ties in, you know, very good or very well with the message I thought I'd bring to you guys today, which is just, you know, slightly different take, maybe a bit of a peek under the hood of what makes tech-focused companies like the people you're listening today, what makes them tick, you know, what makes us tick, right? So Commspace, very briefly, we're we used to call ourselves a commission management system, but nowadays with a bit of a shift towards fee for advice and other sources of revenue, you know, we take a more holistic approach, and we call it revenue management and analytics. The key differentiator between us and other guys is we focus purely on the financial advice market, and currently purely on the South African market, where, you know, I'm coming to you from Berlin in Germany today, where I live, and I commute to South Africa normally when there's no weird situations like we have right now. But, you know, born and bred in the Free State, and the company is proudly South African. Let me quickly dive in and start with, you know, just maybe approach it just a little bit differently. And the question is why? Why do we do, you know, commission management or revenue management? You know, it was quite funny. I was talking to Kate Holmes from the Financial Advice podcast earlier this week, and she asked me the same thing. She said, Johan, but help me understand, you know, I mean, no disrespect, but commission management, you know, that's not very sexy. Why? Yeah, clearly you're quite passionate about it. So why? And, you know, that I had a lack of conversation with her, because it's actually a great question to ask. It's quite simple. You know, we are passionate about improving the lives of other people using and leveraging technology solutions. You know, it started with me when I was a little boy fixing my mom's hairdryer, which wasn't really broken to begin with. You know, and it just, you know, at some point I discovered software, and it's always about, and the theme has been all throughout my life, even when I did corporate IT for the corporates, was how do you leverage technology to make things easier and bring about a real difference? And this is still a key theme that I think you'll find everybody that spoke today, and Adam after me, you'll certainly pick it up as well. is to use simple, easy to use technology to solve problems. Now, of course, there's lots of people solving easy problems using tech, and I'm sorry, but I can't get out of bed in the morning if my goal in life is to build another, selfie taking mobile app or some, trivial, frivolous piece of software. I do feel like, it needs to be a hard problem to solve because there needs to be a good reward at the end. And I'm not talking about financial reward for us. I'm talking about the reward of the people that use it, the problem that's being solved, that it's a good solution and it's actually bringing about change and a positive impact. And, especially in this African context, commission management certainly is a hard problem to solve. So we've got our work cut out for us. So that's a little bit about, why we do what we do. And then I thought I'd take you a little bit about the how. So I'm going to talk about the nuts and bolts in a bit, but really just about our approach first. And our approach is very simply this, being really intentional about crafting a great client experience. So what does that mean? From first contact, from the onboarding process, from getting you, using Commspace, pleasing experience, and that is simple to use and easy to use and delights, and then getting the answer that you need out of it in as much, an automated way as much as possible, in a reliable way as much as possible. That's really our approach, and everything we do is really around that. And I just want to pause for a second here. If you just read those two sentences. We're a tech solution company in the financial advice space, doing, building and delivering quite a niche technology solution, which is managing commission for financial advisors. But if you read those two sentences, there's nothing about them that's anything specific about, a tech company or any tech company. It's general things that applies to any business, or in our mind should apply to any business. And for that matter, it's the type of things that financial advisors, you guys, should also be thinking about, always, about the kind of client experience that you are delivering to your clients. And it starts with, focusing internally, looking at the type of solutions that you have in your practice, personal productivity solutions, workflow, all of that, because all of that ties together. And then you start adding the solutions like what we heard today, voice, being available wherever you are in the world, seamlessly, always being available via telephone, being able to have your clients sign documents. It's, as I said before, it was the best, bit of admin effort I had to go through recently with QuicklySign, and it was a pleasurable, awesome experience because it completely, turn on my head my expectation and my past experience of what such a process should be like. And that's what your technology solution providers, that's the intention that they should have behind what they do. And just to tie into the simplicity and ease of use thing, a famous developer once said, well, not really, it's just famous to me because I look at him in the mirror every morning, but one thing I firmly believe in is not having too many features and not having all the features is a feature. And my team, I know, that's watching this, they're laughing their heads off now because they hear this quite often. When somebody comes along and they want to add something, we're diligent about making sure we're not going to compromise on the simplicity and ease of use of the solution. Okay, let me try and land this thing just with a few slides and examples. So this is really an example of when things don't go so well. So apologies for the screenshot, it's a little bit blurry. I couldn't get a better quality one, but this is literally a screenshot from what Microsoft Word used to look like a few years ago, when you enabled all the toolbars and all the functions, that was available. And I'm sorry to say, but this is a clear example of what we in the software development community would say, designed by committee. A bunch of techies got around the table and said, okay, we know what users want. They want everything all at once. And this is exactly what the type of software that you get, right? not great. I'm sure everybody can agree with that. So let's move over to something a little different. This is part of an actual screen grab from our software. It's actually where you go to if you want to run a report in Commspace, you want to get some data out of it. And the approach is, progressive disclosure, meaning just ask the user for the minimum amount of information to get started to allow him to get on with the task at hand. So when it comes to reporting, we rely on and make available sensible defaults for most things. So typically a user just needs to specify a date range, and they're off to the races. They can either just go with the default report, select a pre-saved template or a predefined template, and they're off. It's not a major investment to get the data out and answer out that you want. But of course, you need to be able to open up the tap and give people more power when they want, and you do that, by when they need, expand the options section and show more information, always still providing sensible defaults. Is attention to detail to things like this about how is the users experiencing and leveraging, not experiencing, how are they using and what is the experience when they use our software. That's what we focus on a lot. Okay, last one of these. This is also, and I know there's quite a few of our clients in the call, and I know they know this screen quite well. This is where once you've imported or received commission statements from various insurance providers into the system, it's a one-click operation to perform the actual commission calculations. Allocate commission out to the advisors in a firm or to external referrers or whatever the case may be, and a few things here: clean, friendly interface, plenty of visual cueing. Feedback loop that tells the user that what happened and some relevant stats around that. And yes, that confetti shower that you see there, that's actually part of our application, because it's a little bit of a milestone when you've got no more statements allocated. You kind of job done. You've done your work for the month. We celebrate that by visually showing the user that they've achieved that milestone. Why am I showing you guys all this? Again, tying it back to being intentional about what you do. So just to kind of end off this thought, for us, it's, I've mentioned a few times now, super important to deliver a simple, easy to use solution that delights. And we borrow from various other disciplines. It's a little known fact, but and maybe there's some of this come from, I've got a dual psychology and computer science degree, so I've got a bit of a hobby or a bit of a penchant for these things. But these are some of the principles that we apply and look at and consider when we build our product and build our solution, and not just the software on the software side, also on the interaction side, the onboarding, the training, the support, all of that. Okay. And again, I just want to leave you with this question. Are you being intentional as a financial advisor about crafting a client experience that delights? Because we certainly are, and we think you should be too. And I think you should be dealing with technology solution providers that's got at least a similar mindset and a similar aim, and provide software that really works together, integrates, enhances your experience, allowing you to craft that excellent client experience. Okay, guys, I'm the Muppet out of today that's going to attempt, Louis, don't laugh so loud, that's going to attempt...
You jump into that, Johanna, just see there's two big questions. The one is asking, is there integrations on the card similar to what WealthPro is doing for commission to pull that in? So maybe you can just touch on that.
Absolutely. So a little bit later on, I'll talk about integrations, but I can talk about it now. So yes, we integrated with the main broker or the practice management system South Africa that you know and love, with @Work, with Elite Wealth, with Workpool, with FSP Hub, with one or two new ones on the cards coming soon. We are also on now, in process building a Zapier adapter for ourselves in order to open up our data even more, so that people like you, Louis, who uses HubSpot, people who use Pipedrive, can push data in, suck data out. We really believe in the democracy of data. It's your data. It should flow between your systems. We don't, otherwise what do? You create a situation where you force people to go for one big bang solution that tries to be everything to everybody. Those, history have shown those don't really work well. So the answer to that is make sure the data flows. So yes, we integrate openly and gladly with anybody who wants to integrate.
Awesome. That's built a bit of suspense on the Showtime slide.
Oh, guys, I'm gonna show you. This is not going to be a demo really. I'm going to show you something just to kind of add on to this theme of pushing. Always trying to push the envelope. And this was one of those those Google Friday projects, those skunk works. Let's see if this works type of things. And this works 50% of the time, best of days. So you're allowed to laugh at me. It fails, I'm not going to feel bad. Okay, so let's just go to a page here, and I can show you something. So here's a list of commission statements. So typically, what somebody might want to do, they've got a query about a particular commission statement, right? And they want to filter, and they say, okay, I'm looking for an Allegre statement. I know it was in February sometime. Let's do a date filter, provider filter. Great, got it. There it is. And that was easy and quick, right? So applying filters is not a problem. In Commspace, we've got loads of keyboard shortcuts. I could have done that with keyboard shortcuts, but now for my party trick. So we thought, potentially, and this is just a proof of concept still, but we've got plans for this. What if you can do it a little bit differently? And you may notice a little microphone here at the bottom left corner. And like I say, this works 50% of the time. Let's see how it goes. Search by date 3 months ago, and by provider is Alan Gray. Yes, it worked. And as you can see, what's that?
That's awesome.
And as you can see, this is a relatively trivial example. It's voice command to quickly find a particular record that you're looking for. So I could have done that manually. It's just quicker using voice, right? Let's try one more. Go to clients. Search by surname is Burton. And ta-da, worked. Yes, 2 for 2. I'm on a roll today, going really well. Now I'm going to show you where this technology is not quite yet where it should be. Search by surname is Kutsia. Nah. Our English, our Afrikaans, good old Afrikaans surnames, it's a challenge, right? So it's not there yet, but we wanna try and go there. So let me show you something else. Show me analytics. And now for my coup de grace, this is where we're aiming to go. Show me clients that missed payments in the last 6 months, ordered by providers, top to bottom, filtered by product category, investment. Nah, guys, no chance. That doesn't work yet. I was just teasing you. But that's where we're going, right? That's the intention, to be able to, instead of clicking and filtering on visual analytics like this, to be able to talk to the system and say, tell me what you want, right? So, that was just a little bit of fun. But while we're here, let me quickly show you. This is our built-in visual analytics. If you're familiar with something like ClickView or Tableau or Power BI, this is it, except it's built into our system seamlessly. There's no separate licensing. There's no worrying about data loads. There's no separate logins. There's no worrying about refreshing models. There's no worrying about getting the data sets just right. It just runs seamlessly out the box. You do your normal commission processing and loading, and you essentially get all this revenue-focused business intelligence for free because it's just there. It's live. It's always up to date, and you can just scroll down. Oh yeah, I am actually on the right one. And you can filter. There's date sliders. It gives you some relevant stats. Let me give you one example of the type of things you can see. You can see this demo office. 82% of the revenue here is recurring, 18% is initial, and you can also see the actual rand amounts, currency amounts. Here's the breakdown of your revenue for this period across the product groups. So if we filter, for instance, on investment, we can click on that slice, the whole dashboard, the whole view updates instantly to now only reflect investment values. And if we go down here, for example, number of products per provider, now we can get a bit of a metric breakdown. We can see here for Liberty Life, yes, 27 products, which is quite a big chunk of the Liberty Life thing. And if you go down just to bottom here, we can see, oh, wait a minute, but if we look at the actual money, Liberty Life is a mere 0.8%. So, you know, quite a few products, quite a few unit trusts there, not generating a lot of revenue. You know, that's just a contrived example of the type of insights that you can find. And there's lots of these. We've got a bunch of out-the-box views, and we could customize these on demand to allow you to drill down into various different areas. We do a lot on, and we're also expanding all the time on doing revenue-based client segmentation. So to give you ideas, you know, answers such as, okay, 72% of my revenues sits in investment. I kind of know that, but 35% of my clients, 62 to be exact, have got investment products, as opposed to here, 22%, that's actually a whopping 40% of clients have got health products, but there's next to no revenue on it. Why? That can't be right. Maybe there's a problem there we need to investigate. So it just opens up your data, and as a practice owner, as a financial planner, it gives you a whole new perspective on things like that. Let me just see how we're doing for time, because I could actually talk about this for a long time. I think I'll pause there. Is there maybe some questions before I go on and I land this?
There's a couple of questions. Some of them asking, when will you be able to load PDFs? Maybe send them a link to convert PDFs first. A couple of questions around recons. Maybe you can touch on your plans for bank recons.
People asking good questions. So PDFs, oh, we love PDFs and we hate PDFs. So in the early days of Commspace, we used to actually parse PDFs. You could just upload your PDF and it would load. Problem with PDF, and people don't really maybe understand this, that electronic document inside is a bunch of coordinates and points meant to render the same whether you print it on any screen, on any dimension. It's not a data transfer format that's very easy programmatically to extract data from. So that's why there's PDF converters, a dime a dozen on the internet, and all of them do an okay to incredibly crappy job of converting your PDFs to let's say to Excel or CSV or some more data-friendly format. So we've kind of moved away from trying to parse PDFs. What we're rather doing is we've mapped all the commission statements, the Excel, the text, the CSV statements of all the providers in South Africa and the foreign providers that we support. So you don't have to worry about it. So we map those things centrally. We maintain those mappings as they change. You never have to worry about a thing. You just chuck your commission statements into our system. And in fact, let's quickly talk about what that process looks like. Sorry, this is quite a heavy, quite a bit of a text-heavy process diagram, but I can try and focus, make it a little bit more focused. So starting, we focus a hell of a lot on ingesting data and making that as seamless and automatic as possible. So we're working hard at expanding our set of direct data feeds from providers. So where we have them, the guys, the guys who was early on our platform, Alan Gray, AdviceTech, those are the typical tech-friendly providers. Those things are going really well. So that is a big driver for us and really our strategic direction for getting comm data into the system. A second one that's actually quite popular that we've been using internally a lot, and we're slowly opening it up to our self-service clients, is a client could get an email inbox at Commspace, so client name at Commspace.co.za, and then they just forward, or they either get the providers to directly email the comm statements to that email address, or if they get them, they forward them to the email address. And we've got a completely automated solution that works really nicely to automatically recognize the provider, detach those attachments from the emails and suck that information into the system. That works really well. It's a very good fallback. In fact, we had they're probably going to hit me on the head, but we had a good conversation with Sanlam this morning, and we're going to do that with them soon. So that's a nice fallback for where we don't yet have direct data feeds. And then again, a lowest common denominator, manual file uploads. Sorry, no PDF supported, because pretty much everybody can provide, either a CSV or an Excel, and in any way we're trying to move to direct data feeds where you don't get PDFs. So manual upload is always the fallback. Again, let's go to the process part. We configure those statement mappings for you. You never have to worry about it. You're never ever going to have to worry about a format. Try and load the file. If there's no feed, no email, just load it. We've got a team that monitors all those files, and everything that fails, we figure out what went wrong. We communicate it to you. If it's a problem on our side, we fix it. If it's a mapping, we adapt it. If it's something that you perhaps did wrong, you loaded the wrong statement under the wrong provider, we let you know. So it's a fully managed process, and we do that for all our clients regardless. And then to the real heart of the engine, a big reason why advisors still use us and will continue using us is splitting of commission and splitting of revenue, either between advisors in a practice or for external referrers, or even in the cases like Louis and them, we don't really split commission. They're still interested in tracking, how much revenue per provider, per product category, per type of income, is it initial, is ongoing, per advisor is flowing into the business, right? So we do that, and we've got easy, customizable, powerful rules that supports pretty much any scenario you can think of. Event-based, sliding scale, flat percentage fee. There's a bunch of them, and they're easy to configure and easy to manage. Okay, oops, going the wrong way.
Johan, I'm going to cut you a little bit short. There's a lot
Sure.
of questions, and
okay.
What's the best way for people to get hold of you and Mata? What are the next steps? Just want to make sure that we still get Adam on the line.
For my pretty thing, and I'll try and get there. There's a whole bunch of stuff I also wanted to get to. That's why I was talking quicker and quicker, because I realized I was running over time. There's a whole bunch of things besides just that, that goes with it, and you get out the box for free, so to speak. By the way, fully managed service is also available. If you don't want to do this yourself, you can outsource it to us. You will get a dedicated account manager, and we'll do it for you. The best way to get, and I was going to land with this quite dramatically, who better to get than old Nick Fury to back you in an argument. For all those people who say, I've got a process, and your process is some poor lady who sits 2 or 3 weeks out of every 4 and try and, wrangle their way through spreadsheets manually. I just got a question for you. Can your spreadsheet do all that? I'll leave this. This is the kind of the future looking things we were going to do. We're already starting to apply some of this. Next on the card is Commspace Insights, intelligent machine, agents who's going to discover things automatically without you having to go look for mistakes and trends and spikes. Where people can get a hold of us, very simply, Louis is going to send out a link in the notes afterwards. You can follow that and request a demo. And like Louis mentioned, we and I think Sebastian also mentioned, just quote when you contact us that you got onto us via the AdviceTech Conference. If you're interested in becoming a new client of ours, and all new clients will get a 10% discount for the first year as well. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Johan. We'll definitely have to do a follow-up session. We have 2 hours only to go through this. But if you haven't seen their system live and you haven't ever looked at the revenue side of your business, definitely give them a shot and just actually let the information tell you a picture or story of where you want to drive your business. So thanks for that.
Thank you very much.
So next up we have Adam. Gary is also here. So Adam is the CEO and founder of Asset Map. So grateful to have you here, Adam.
Thank you.
I know it's not every day that you speak across the globe. So really appreciate you being here.
My
and
pleasure.
if you can maybe also just touch on how Work That Matters fits in. So for the people that want to reach out, and I'm going to hand over to you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you everybody for having me. I know that let me ask you this, because I see the time. How much time do we have?
I think we'll definitely run over 5 o'clock. So for those that can't hang around, we'll send you the recordings and we'll send you the slides, but we've got another 30 minutes to chat. I don't need to run anywhere. If it's okay with you, we can stretch it.
It's only my own board meeting, so they'll have to figure it out themselves. We have to sneak them all in today. So thank you very much for having me. And by the way, you might notice actually on the screen, if you can see it. Can you see my screen, Louis?
Yeah.
Fantastic. You might notice that there's a fun picture on here. And if you notice what may stick out here, this is, I'm going to be talking about Asset Map and what's going on in our industry, especially here in the States, and what we've seen, what we've learned. But you might notice there already is a URL at the bottom there. If you want to learn more about what I say, or you have to run early, please feel free to go to assetmap.com/Louis. Created a very simple landing page for you to learn more and to actually interact with our Work That Matters friends, Gary representing. Hello, Gary. And really, this is, I think, you're going to be really exciting for some of you to see this if you haven't seen this before. So just to give you a flavor, I'm very much like all of you in the marketplace. I've been a financial professional for 22 years. I focused on estate planning, also insurance production. Even though we did build an asset under management machine, we got to about $1.2 billion US dollars. AUM before I decided to finally become a full-time tech entrepreneur for some ungodly reason. Decided to take this plunge like my friends and colleagues here about 12 years ago. And this process came out of my own practice. And so it's kind of funny to see how much this has evolved. So that you understand, many of us are dealing directly with clients, and I come from that perspective that what really matters is what the consumer experience is all about. And I'm glad to see that so many people talked about it. Now, what this is attempting to illustrate is that many clients, many consumers have collected some levels of investments, assets. This is just indicates retirement assets, life cover that they purchased from somebody who sold it to them years ago. Maybe they do their banking online, so they feel they're all sophisticated. But the reality is most of our clients are dealing with lots of different questions. And once it gets complicated and there are people dependent upon you, we find an advisor's first job is to focus on what really matters and how do I organize that whole life. And so what we built many years ago was the ability for to build for our customers a very technical approach made simple. Basically a treasure map of what was going on in their life and all the decisions they were making. And what it did is it gave us permission to talk about what really mattered to them and frame opportunities and bring ideas to the table. What actually happened is the consumers took this, they disregarded our 80-page report, and they put it on their refrigerator. They gave it to their accountant, they gave it to their children. And so interestingly enough, what happened in our practice is that our customers kept saying, this is what I've always wanted from you, but I didn't know how to ask for it. I wanted clarity, I want simplicity. I want a way to communicate with the people that matter and figure out if we're doing the right thing. So Asset Map came out of this classic necessity to clarify what was going on. And we do that for businesses and for individuals and non-traditional families and business partners and trusts and charities overseas, whatever you can imagine, we can effectively map it. And so what I did is I took a bunch of money and I said, I'm going to build my own tech company. And I eventually sourced and stole a bunch of people from other firms. And I said, here, we're going to work on this project. And so today, if you're wondering what we do, we are actually a financial engagement and guidance platform. Notice I didn't say we're a financial planning tool. I didn't say we are CRM. And I said, those are all great tools, but we're not that. What we are financial engagement and guidance. If you're a professional that leads with advice, that means you talk about advice, whether you implement products or investments, insurance, whatever it might be, banking. The key is to not look like everybody else. I'm sure that many of you agree that with all this technology coming in, we could all start looking like we're the exact same provider. We all have the same technology. It all looks the same. The only difference is our fun little LinkedIn picture and our logo, maybe our color, right? But the reality, we know that that's not the real differentiator, right? The key is for us not to lose our identity. And so what we built is a capacity to put the onus and the impetus on the advisor, not necessarily the technology. So despite the fact that we are a technology platform, the whole point is about making sure that we communicate more effectively. But we focus on this critical piece. How are we delivering advice based upon knowing our client? When we understand our client and give it back to people visually, it gets an unbelievable opportunity to uncover opportunities, which means we make what? We make more money and the clients stay longer. And then ultimately the clients really love it and they keep coming back for again and again and again. And interestingly enough, we've been thinking a lot about engagement. And if you've ever bought anything on Amazon or online, you know that you don't want to be sold anymore. You want to be engaged and you want to purchase because it makes sense for you. And so what we've been seeing here is a critical remembering of the reality is that if we just sell a client a single line of business, we don't get the opportunity to really earn the true lifetime value. We all know, if you've been in this business for any period of time, client is with you, you sell them the first line of solutions. Maybe it's insurance, maybe it's investments. Maybe over a couple of years you earn the annuity, maybe you get the pension, maybe the health cover, maybe you earn their parents' work or they have a business and you earn that over time and it's worth 10 times the initial sale. And so the critical part about growing your business is to find multiple ways to engage your customers, bring them back to your purview so that you could provide guidance again and again and again. Now, the interesting thing we've seen here in the States is that a lot of financial advisors are really touting financial planning as the way that they're engaging. Now, I am a recovering CFP myself, Certified Financial Planner. I love the process, but we all know that this is not engaging. In fact, hopefully your computer does not look like this, right? This picture is 30 years old, and it says that people did not understand financial planning even then, okay? And the reason is because most of us approach the problem like a technician, which means we have great understanding technically of how this market works and risk-adjusted returns and modern portfolio theory, and I don't know what you're talking about. All I want to know is, are we okay? And are we going to make it? And so one of the things that we focused on is how do I help an advisor explore what's going on in their financial life, all the financial decisions they're making, educate them on things and they don't understand and what they should consider or might consider, and then elevate their condition as the bigger mission of all of us in the financial world is to help people make better decisions every single time we interact. Okay, so advisors are using AssetMap as an interaction framework, either paper, digital, as I'll show you, to effectively map your current life. Here's where it all is. Now let's figure out whether it's intentional. And I loved what Johan said there about intentionality, because what you realize when you look at your life in a map, no difference if we were to pull out all your clothes and dump it on the bed, we critically know that some of that stuff does not fit. It is not going to come back in style. I'm sorry. All right. Some of it I know you overwear and you wear it all the time. And then there's stuff that is dust. Nobody's looked at it in years. And the key is to be honest about it and say, okay, let's make space and let's put the stuff in here that really serves us. Okay. That's our opportunity in doing it this way. So I would say to all of you on the call that what we've concluded is that the future of our profession is actually not so much what many of us are spending a lot of our time doing. It's actually what you should be spending your time doing, which is applying your insight to the clients in real time as often as possible as your highest revenue producing activity, bar none. Everything else should be delegated to other smart people or to technology, okay? Advisor intelligence is the future, and it's how we're basically going to keep our differentiation. So for us, I know there's a lot of chat threads that we're talking about. Can we do multiple tools? Can we solve multiple problems? I think the great thing about this panel is that all of us have focused on a very specific problem. We're not trying to go into each other's lanes. Now, granted, we might integrate, but the point is that solve the problem as effectively as you can so that I can get it done and move on. We focused on the three major problems of our advisor base, which is all advisors need to organize people's lives. They need to figure out whether they're on track for funding in 30 seconds, and then they need to be able to manage their practice for uncovering opportunities and issues. Okay, let me show you how we do that. The first thing is an asset map, and it's pretty prolific. There's over 1 million people actually in asset map already, and this thing is taken off in a bunch of different ways. Let me remind us all what really matters. When we think about a household, a business, a family, the most important part is at the top. It's the people, and hopefully you can read that. This happens to be Warren and Maddie. They're in their 50s. They have a daughter, Dahlia, and they also have a son, Zane, who's 12 years old. You can see that their mother-in-law they consider as part of their family. They're going to have to take care of her. It says Janine Smith. And also they have a company, right? These are the people that need to remain top of mind and the legal entities that are relevant in financial decisions. Customer centricity means the client is in the middle. We catalog income sources, both active and passive and in the future, because they need to be top of mind. They need to remember they're going to get a pension, or they have an annuity, or their parents are giving them an inheritance or a gift. What assets do they control by retirement, non-retirement? What kind of obligations do they have that are hard or soft, right? They kind of owe their brother some money, but it never lives on a balance sheet. But we need to remember this for what if he dies? There's other issues that might be in here. Any type of asset you can imagine. What about Maddie? Does she have income sources? Does she control retirement assets that are earmarked or, non-retirement assets? Business interests, are there loans out here that I need to address? What do their joint assets look like, their liabilities, and then of course their insurances? Now, anyone on this call can probably look at this and formulate some questions. The number one question they're going to ask is, why is this here? Does this belong? What's the intent? How is the exit plan going to work? How am I going to monetize this money? Is this the right insurance? Has anybody reviewed the beneficiaries? The point is that when you see life this way, it gives us permission to ask those types of open-ended questions, which will uncover the real root of why you have it or why you should not have it. Okay? There has to be intentionality here. So the whole purpose of the asset map is to focus on that. The second thing that we do is that because you have this core data, you can instantly apply a model that will tell somebody how funded they are for retirement, education, life insurance, long-term care, disability, or anything else you can think of. And very similar to what Gustav showed us in terms of goal monitoring without the investment side, we do not do the investment side, is that we can very quickly communicate whether what you currently have is going to actually satisfy what you need. And if you need to look at it in the traditional planning way, for all those engineers out there, we can do it, because we all know there's moments when I need to prove it. No, I don't believe you. Where's the numbers? And so show me the whole iteration. But I would argue to many of you, the real key to a presentation that works today in both digital and paper environments is simplicity. You got to get to a 2 or 3 page presentation that can communicate to the grand public, everybody, whether they're very technical or whether they're, Nana, grandma that has never seen a dollar because Papa managed it all these years and he's no longer here and I got to communicate with her. Okay. The key is to be able to take all of that progress, continuously monitor it. So every time we get together, I know whether we're on track, and then reprioritize these things. These are what we call target maps, and they're really effective whether you're doing full, planning or whether you're doing high level. Oh, this is a problem. Red light, green light. We need to address this. Okay. The third thing that's the most important thing that advisors should be doing is actually managing their practice. Right? If we had maps with the data of every single prospect and client we or our firm has ever met with, which takes some time, all of a sudden we have interesting knowledge. We can start saying, show me the clients that are highly likely to have this condition and or that condition, whatever it might be. You have to kind of just imagine. This happens to be looking at, show me, assets under management clients that would probably be critical illness candidates. Why? Because they don't have that kind of coverage, and they don't have life insurance, but they have this, but they don't have that. And you have to just use your mind's eye to imagine what you can do with this. This is unbelievably important because many of us will use financial planning tools, collect all this data, and then say, now what? Well, when you arrive 2-3 years from now and you have 200 clients, 300 clients, we had 1,200 clients in our firm. How do I sell that? How do I sell that business? How do I know what my clients and prospects have and I have not yet actually cross-sold or engaged about? And that's critically important in terms of long-term business valuation. You must have the data on your customers and you must have the ability to access it. We really haven't seen a lot of planning platforms really address that problem.
Okay. Almost on that point with
yes.
Johan's side of the data, you can see the revenue, but with Asset Map, you can see things that are not yet under your control or under your management, which is so valuable.
It's the potential revenue, right? True, good point. So most people tend to ask us this, which is, well, how do you build this? How do you get into the data into Asset Map? There's really three ways that you can do this. One is advisors typically interact with their clients live, and I'll show you that. Or they're sending directly to clients an interview, which walks them through that process, and they can do it from 15 minutes on their phone. Or we integrate, this is a list of recently some of our integration partners, because we're an open API platform. For those of my colleagues here who are thinking the same thing that we are, which is what do we do? Now, I know that most of us are dealing remotely today, but this process was built specifically to deal with the four modalities of how we deliver advice: paper, digital. What you'll see is mobile, right? And actually a lot of us did this when we had conference rooms. Mobile, which very few people actually do, and remote. And the interesting thing about our own practice is that for the last 10 years, 70% of our meetings were remote. For the last 4 years, 98% of our meetings were remote. We built this system almost entirely to deal with the current environment that we're dealing with now, not because we knew that, but because it made so much sense. And so the question has always been for me, how do I deliver a consistent experience for the customer where I'm not learning different tools in different environments? Whether you print it, whether it's on a big screen or whether it's on a shared screen, it shouldn't matter. Now, the interesting challenge with collecting data in the field is that typically you know some things, but you don't know everything. For example, this person, Joe, and disregard the fact this is a United States sample in this case, we know some things about Joe. We know some things about his insurance and his assets. We don't always have all the information because they left an employer and they left some information. They don't really know where their money is. And that's okay. We can put, I don't know. But he gets married to this woman, Merwe. We don't know anything about her. So let's overlay what her peers typically have. We call this an X generation stencil. Okay, that's typically what your peers have, Merwe. Do you have any of these things? What's important about this is that if people understand what their peers are also considering, they can now start to ask better questions without feeling like it's a sales attack, okay? Oh, you need life insurance. Well, yeah, I do. You want to make some money today. I understand, right? But if I show you that your peers typically have this kind of life insurance and you want to change the language, that's fine. They typically have these kinds of retirement accounts and we need to take advantage of our pension programs. Now, of course, I have opportunity to ask these questions. What if I did that for a business, right? What if I just went to my business clients and said, well, I know you're making this much money and I know you have a company. What if I overlay what your business peers also have? They tend to have key person and they have some type of life cover and they have a disability and they have a retirement plan and I manage all this stuff too. You can start educating in a completely different way and leave placeholders that become sticking points. You must address it eventually. Now, the other way that's become more popular, we're going to create in a way for everyone on this call with Work That Matters Health to actually try this live. All right. So if you go to that link that I shared at the beginning, I'll share it again at the end. Gary's team has actually volunteered to actually help those people who want to create this and see this experience live. You can test this out with a client. Direct to client interviews, really, really effective. Try it yourself, try it on your spouse, see if they like it. And here's what I want to educate you about the whole kind of fintech stack. I've had a lot of questions about this. Most of us, if you're in wealth management, advice management, whatever we're calling it these days, I think it's called financial planning. I don't even know anymore. But the point is that we tend to have these three tools, almost all of us, some level of planning, CRM, and portfolio management, okay? The interesting thing that I realized years ago is that these tools are either built for the advisor or they're built for the client, right? Are you trying to engage with this tool or are you trying to engage the advisor in their technical, glory, okay? Which is completely useless in the field, all right? And what happens is we found that a lot of the companies, at least in the States, were really tending to focus on that interior cycle. In other words, what is really, can I use this to communicate? Or is this a technical tool and gosh, we can all have engineering jokes about it, all right? And so what's interesting about this is that we've chosen to do all kinds of integrations around these tools. And what I tend to see is that advisors tend to piece together these tools or other tools, right? Based upon how they want to build their firm. Are they looking more for a fully I want to go with holistic planning, or am I looking for a really just technical engagement, or do I just want to go after the youngest generation, which is super simple and straightforward and learned attention deficit, right? And so the interesting thing about the choices that you're going to need to make as an advisor is when you start piecing this together, remember, you're making a decision for the next 5 years. This is not just a one-time thing. You're going to create infrastructure around this, which is really critical. And the way that I tend to think about it after a bunch of surveys we did was that this is really around the process. So this is typically what we tend to see, for those of you that like this image, in the introduction phase, all the way through how I interact with my client, deliver guidance, implement the solution, and then of course, manage the relationship. There's lots of tools we can use, many that are represented here today, that fit in these different boxes or close to it. One of the things that we've been thinking about is, where do we fit? Why are we relevant? And we tend to fit in that kind of client profiling and core financial planning. So we believe Asset Map is for every single client, not just your top 20%. It's intended to be used for everyone. In fact, we think arguments can be easily made that, as was previously said in the compliance section, is that suitability and document management and best interest alignment with our clients' fiduciary responsibility is going to be critical. You need to defend it. And that means you need to be able to produce reports like that come out of Asset Map or the prior platform, or several of us, in order to do that. So we think that we actually really sit well there. I think to kind of wrap up here and allow us to go to questions, the real key about is, so what? So if you could do a map, that's kind of fun, it's kitschy. What does it really mean? Well, we've been tracking advisors now for the last 5 years at enterprise scale, thousands of advisors at a time that report back on their productivity. And we've seen now our 5th year in a row of lifts to productivity in the form of revenue lifts for that entire community, double digits 5 years in a row. Those numbers are to scale. And so the key is that when you actually interact with a client and you help them understand what's going on in their life, you earn more business. That's no surprise to anybody. And I think some of the real interesting things about why this matters to anybody on this call is because if we can obviously generate more revenue, be more productive, customers love it, and we get the data, then everybody really wins. And I won't go into this because I would rather talk about time. And the other thing is, I think it's really, really important for all of us on the call to make sure that we make a serious commitment to growth and learning and delivering more value continuously for our client. I think, Louis, you've done a great job of bringing together community and enabling all of us to elevate our own game. And so one of the things that we've done to help contribute to that is we've created over 15 hours of video just like this on positioning and language and how do you use these different tools to interact with people at different levels of complexity, from billionaires all the way through people who are just starting to tax professionals and legal professionals. How do you interact with them? So we've done a lot of this. All of this is open to everyone on this in the world. You can go watch any of these things and you can see the URL there. I'm going to skip all this stuff. And I kind of warn you though, I warn you, if you use this process in the field, it will take over your life and you'll be thankful for it. It is addictive. It is a strangely addictive process. When you can get something that usually takes you 2 hours to prep for a meeting down to 5 minutes, it becomes addictive and you want to do it again. Your clients will keep asking for their asset map. So I'll tell you now that I'm warning you that this is addictive and it will make you more money. I'm sorry. So one of the things that we have created is we did create a landing page. This is the one you can go to. This is our last slide, assetmap.com/Louis. You can start a discovery right now and you can actually go and initiate this and build a map for yourself or a client just for playing. Or if you want to learn more about this, you can click and click here. You can schedule a demo directly with our availability. really super easy. I challenge you to go and find out more about this and see how it serves you in your practice or if it doesn't. But with that, I'll close and say, you do not want in a year to have some other advisor show your clients an asset map. Okay, the key here is momentum. This is moving very fast. And if you think this has play in your practice, you want to really consider it now and be on the earlier side of this, as opposed to have someone bring this to your clients and say, I already got that from someone else and they know where everything is. So that's my FOMO statement, fear of missing out. And with that, let me hand it back to Lee and ask if there's any general questions.
Adam, that was excellent. Thank you so much. I can only echo a lot of what you've been saying. We've seen not only having to ask clients for information, they want to put in information, right? And these were existing clients bringing accounts saying, I haven't really ever told you about this, but I'd really like to see it on my picture.
That's it.
It's a completely different way of thinking about it. And a quote that comes to mind is that people always say that they don't want to know what you know, they just know that you know and that you care, right?
That's right.
And this just facilitates such easy discussions. If I'm looking at the questions, a lot of them are very essay specific, where Gary has been fielding some of the questions. So thanks for that, Gary. That's been great. I'd recommend that everyone checks out the webinars that Adam and his team has done. Love the energy in it. So great. And sometimes we think in South Africa, actually, we can't apply these things, but there's definitely always something in a way of thinking that you can apply to your business, right? So we're all in the service business. It just happens to be the financial services side of things. Lots of thank yous to all the panelists and everyone kind of that attended today. And I think in the essence of time, I want to say thank you also for everyone that's been here, the people that have joined, the people that have presented. And I want to end off this session just saying that you'll get a copy of the links and the recordings, and listening this week to Carrie List from FP Canada, which is similar to Financial Planning Institute in South Africa, saying that they believe that financial planning is the future of advice and that the human side is the future of financial planning. So definitely the tools and technology is starting to automate the stuff we used to do on day to day, so that we can sit in front of our clients and talk about their asset maps and their goals and their aspirations. And thanks so much for building the software that's available to do that. We wouldn't be able to run our business without each of these components. And we look forward to having these sessions again, right? Bringing more of the information to people out there. So with that, I'll wrap it up.
Thanks, Lee. That was great.
Thank you, Louis.
Bye.
Everyone.
Thanks,
for
guys.
joining.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, guys. Cheers.